Welcome to the third session now on the peer networks. So what we're going to have a quick do now before we get into our breakouts is a quick reminder about value. But the key focus for this session is around first things first, and we've asked you all to think about what your top priorities are, probably around about 5 for the next 90 days, and to share those so that we can then have a discussion around one of those, so that you can pick one that's the most relevant to you, that you'd like to have the views of other people around the room on, so that you can then come away with some great actions on that. So that's what we're going to do. We'll just spend a few minutes setting the scene, get to the point where we can break out as quickly as possible. The only real limiting factor on that will be my ability to set out the breakout rooms properly, and then we'll maximize the time in those rooms, and we'll return for a wrap up at around about 12:20 then, so that we can just wrap up and set the scene for the next session as well. Don't need to go through all of this stuff about online etiquette and confidentiality and how to get the most out of the sessions. We've done that enough times already now, and we know about using the LinkedIn group for the contacting. This is the session on first things first. So it's around that laser focus, the idea of quarterly thrusts, but it's thinking about that. What we're using this as a catalyst for our thinking, and so that enables that catalyst as well for discussion then around things that are of use to us. Last time around was around the drivers of value. So you should have taken away some ideas around 1 or 2 of those key drivers, as well as the overall understanding of the importance of building a business for value around that longevity side of things, and not just about maximizing the short-term profits, which we know it's important, but we to maximize those short-term profits, but we also want to make sure that we are building the business for value in the long term. And we set you the challenge that you went away with is, what tangible things are you going to implement to begin to improve your key value driver last time? So I know some of us had discussions around the monopoly control, around really creating and strengthening a really good, strong competitive advantage. There are a number of discussions around recurring revenue, but also things like the Switzerland structure and over-reliance on key customers, key individuals within the business, key suppliers, that kind of thing. But all of us generally as well are trying to work on making sure that we are reducing the dependence of the business on us as the business owner. And there was that one of those drivers you remember was called the hub and spoke, and that's that measure of how reliant the business is on us, really. Are we the rate limiting step or the roadblock to various things within the business? So that was the theme for last time. We set the scene right at the very beginning about working and linking this strategy and execution gap. We know from research, and you can find this if you research, but only about 10% of businesses are able to get a really good vision and strategy going and operate really well there, and combine it with really good execution. The remaining 90% of businesses tend to be better at one or the other, or possibly at neither. But and those 10% that actually manage to bridge that gap are the ones that really outperform their competitors, their peers. And what we're doing through the themes that we are going through on each of these sessions is we're finding ways to make sure that we're addressing the various elements and we are bridging that gap. And alignment is often the missing piece. And this session today, or the concepts that we've looked at today around 90-day planning, is a fundamental tool to helping to bridge that gap between keeping the plate spinning, but also making sure that we're heading where we want to head to. I'm not going to go through the detail of this because you've watched the videos and you've had the one-to-ones, but the simple idea of identifying, capturing, writing down what we plan to do leads to a much better progress and much more likelihood of achieving what we set out to achieve. It's great to be motivated and want to do it, but that simple exercise of identifying what we're going to do, specifying it, capturing it, gives us a much greater chance of achieving it. And there's loads of studies in all sorts of different sectors, whether it be medical, business, whatever, to back up that idea. So, and we also talked about it doesn't need to be overly complicated. And there's this nice little Rudyard Kipling rhyme about the 6 honest serving men. They taught me all I knew. Their names are what and why and when and how and where and who. And those are the essential elements of a good action plan. And we also linked it back to the SMART acronym: specific, measurable, accountable, realistic, and time bound. And if we make sure that all of the actions that we're specifying are SMART, then essentially we're covering off the six honest serving men. So the idea of the 90-day planning is, from a frequency point of view, it gets us into a really great rhythm. It's long enough. 90 days is long enough that we can achieve some fairly big things, but equally it's not so far away that we can't imagine what good looks like in 90 days time. So it sets our horizon a little bit further ahead, but not so far that it's not meaningful. But a good 90-day planning process can really help to establish clarity, not just within our own minds, but also within the rest of the team. Get everybody aligned then around those goals, especially if we do have a good process which is collaborative and getting people involved in it. But something else it does, which is a bit interesting actually, is it gives us flexibility. You might think that it mixes in a way that it means that we're going to be much just rigid on those priorities, but actually a good 90-day planning process means that we are able to adapt. We can bring in information as it happens and adapt to that plan, but it does give us the focus on those key things that we want to get done. And also it helps with the communication, but it also gives really good, clear responsibilities and ownership. So that's essentially all that I wanted to say around the idea. It links back to that idea of putting first things first. If we look back at the Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So instead of working on all sorts of things at the same time, it's about identifying those first things, the rocks. If you remember the video that he talked about with the rocks, the pebbles and the sand, it's the rocks, those first things first. That links back to that. And what we'd like you to do in the 3 minutes is of the spotlights in your quick update is essentially update on any progress, takeaways, thoughts on the overall 90-day planning process, your top 5 priorities, and which priority would be the most useful to discuss and highest power of the group. I'll put that up in a minute. I'm going to stop sharing for the moment. I'll put that back up as a reminder just before we break. But what I'm going to do is hand over to Louise now to just see if there's any other things that Louise would like to add, whilst I just sort out the final breakout rooms before we go. So Louise, over to you.
Okay, so I'm going to cover while Kevin busily works away in the background just to get all the groups set up to go for. So hopefully you all had a bit of a go at that 90-day plan. I mean, what we said for today is, we're not expecting the completed object, because actually the 90-day planning usually takes a couple of iterations, a couple of goes. And one of the reasons why we like to introduce it in a group like this is it gives you a chance to have that go, to make that initial stab at some of the things. And I know with certainly with 1 or 2 people in my group, there's little areas that we're going to focus on slightly outside this, so to develop things like the core purpose, for instance, which is part and parcel of what we're doing here, and really getting everybody aligned and focused on that core purpose. So just, having a go and getting something down on paper that we can introduce to a group like this, where you sort of can have that debate amongst each other and maybe suggest some different ways of doing things. That's one of the reasons why we like to introduce it to a group like this, because you get the chance to have that constructive conversation and then go away and develop it further. And obviously Mel, Kevin and I will all work with you on your in the one-to-ones about developing that. While Kevin is working on the groups, anybody want to just share, how they found doing the 90-day planning? Is it something that you've done before? Anybody want to have a quick share of how they found it? Not what the plan is, just how you found the experience of it. Ben, I see you've come off mute.
Hello. It's something when we started the business 5 years ago, it's something that we had a business coach then, and it's something that we started doing then, and it was really good. But then as we grew, and we sort of, things were just running on their own. It sort of just got pushed aside. But going back, it was a very good thing to do.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks, Ben. Rajni, sorry.
Like Ben said, it's we've never done this before, so this is the first time we've seen this 90-day plan. But it's been an eye-opener. It's been really hard to think about and get your head around, because it takes a lot of honesty, and like Ben said, you just you know, as a business owner, you kind of know that you set up your business and you kind of just, but then after a while, you just let things start running on their own. And then you become too busy to really think and take stock. And that's exactly where we've been for a long time now. So this has been, it's been hard.
hard, but beneficial, I hope. And that, yeah.
It's been so beneficial in so many ways. And I think that's why it's so painful.
Yeah, and that, you know, it is the critical thing. It's what we talked about, what Kevin sort of said at the beginning, that difference between strategy and the vision and actually executing. And what most of us will do when we do business plans, and what most of us are taught to do, if you're, you know, you don't have a coach come along, is basically, well, what are you going to do in 3 years? What are you going to do in 1 year? Right, let's get, you know, and you kind of put that plan in the drawer, don't you? And then after a year, you go back to it and go, oh, did we achieve that? Well, no, we didn't. And bringing in the 90-day.
Or you don't even come back to it, do you?
Yeah.
Because you just carry on running the way it's running, and yeah.
Yeah, and that, you know, is the real benefit of understanding how to take that vision and the steps that you want to take in a year's time and actually making them happen. You know, and you probably gathered that, you know, that we have limited you, if you like, to 7 rocks. And I was talking to my group and saying, well, people often say to me, well, you know, I've got 21 things to do, and I can't make that decision. And my argument is, fine, go ahead and try the 21. In 3 quarters time, you'll probably still have only got through 2 of them. But if you can focus on 7, then 7, then 7, you've probably knocked them all off by the end of the year. So it's really getting that laser focus. I think we're probably ready, are we, Kevin?
Yeah, we are. So what I've done essentially is combined Mel's group with mine, and we'll take it from there. So essentially what we've done. James Roberts, I'll put you in with Louise for the minute, but if you fancy moving around, you're welcome to just let me know and pop in and out of the various groups. You'll probably have to send me a text though, so that I can see it, unless you, but that'll be fine. But anyway, there we go. So I'm going to open up those rooms, but what I'll just share that screen again, just to remind everybody of what we'd like you to do in your time. So quick update, try and keep it nice and short. We should have a good 20 minutes each in the spotlight. Essentially, it should work out roughly about like that, but try and keep the amount that you're talking to a minimum, but give a nice succinct update of good news, progress since the last time that we met. Your takeaways on the 90-day planning, we've done a little bit of that now already, but then your top 5 priorities. So really spell out those top 5 priorities that you think, what would good look like in the next 90 days for you? If we were having this discussion in 90 days time, what would good look like? What would you want to have achieved and managed in that time? And then of those 5, what is the top one, the burning one that you think would be most useful to discuss within the group and get other people's views and opinions and thinking? And then let's spend as much time as possible with people asking those questions rather than you presenting your update. Is that all clear? Everybody happy with that?
Yes.
Great. So I will stop recording. Right. So obviously that session, lots of wide-ranging conversations prompted really by thinking about the 90-day planning and about the idea of really identifying that laser focus, the big things that we want to achieve in the next 90 days. That the next session then is taking that a little bit further around the business rhythm. And it's great now that we've identified those priorities, but actually how are we going to make sure that everybody knows about them for a start, but then that we keep on top of those in over the next 90 days, essentially, so that when we get to the end of the 90 days, we've actually achieved what we need to do, rather than going, oh, week before it or something, we've forgotten about that. So that's the focus of the next one. But again, it's around generating ideas, catalysts for discussion. Don't forget the LinkedIn group that we've got. So that's a private LinkedIn group just for those of us on this program. And do use that to pick up with any of the conversations you may have had. There may be specific people you want to get in touch with, or questions that you've got, but also we'll be posting various things there as well. Something that Jack has been working on, as I said, he just joined us for this sum up, is we've now put together, Jack has put together a portal, essentially, that will have a lot of the resources that you've been looking at over the last 3 sessions, and also in the future sessions. So it's things like the video tutorial links and some of the downloadable resources and some of those, so that you can then, if you want to, you can then go back and you can look at some of the past stuff. So if you want to remind yourself of the 5 Levels of Leadership by Jim Collins, then that will be there for example, and a few other things as well. So we'll look out for an invitation to join that fairly shortly over the next week or so. I would imagine that will come through, and hopefully you'll find that useful. We also have, on the 90-day topic, we do have a workshop coming up on the 29th of September.
No, hang on a minute, Kevin. Don't confuse everybody. It's gone in the chat. The 90-day workshop is the 24th of September, Friday the 24th.
Oh.
Our next session together is the 29th.
But my big error then. Okay, all right. So thank you. Next session, 29th of September. Well spotted, Louise. Thank you. So that the 90-day planning workshop then on the 24th of September is not actually part of the program. It's not, it's not something that we're expecting you to turn up to. But if you would like to, and if you'd like to know more about really and actually spend some real time working on a 90-day plan, then that's open to you, and we can discuss that individually in our one-to-ones if that's something that would be of interest to you. There's something that you can do to help us if you would spend a little bit of time for us. That would be brilliant. We and GBSLEP have some more cohorts that are starting, and there's a few places remaining for people to come on the program like you're coming on. So what we would love is if you know 1 or 2 people, perhaps business owners, that you think would benefit in the same way that you're benefiting from this program. If you could introduce us, please, that would be brilliant. Just maybe by email or whatever's the best way for you to introduce us. But we would really appreciate your help to fill up those remaining few places, essentially, because that will enable the cohorts to start. If they don't reach a group of a certain size, then they can't start. So it would be very helpful to just have those final few. So please do let us know. The challenge essentially that we're leaving you with is this one. How are you going to first? No, it's not. It's how you're going to ensure the first things first in your business. So you've all thought about your 5 priorities, but how are you going to really apply that into your business on an ongoing basis? So we heard at the beginning, Ben was talking about how we found it very useful, but for some reason it had stopped. So how are we going to make sure that it really becomes a habit of the business? Because it is one of those habits that separates out the ones that really succeed in the long term from those that don't. It is a really, really vital habit if you're serious about scaling up your business. So that next one, as I say, yeah, we've got the dates right on that one. Champion execution with the September the 24th 90-day planning workshop at the bottom. So that's the next session. Don't forget this vision builder that we introduced to you right at the very beginning, to start to frame some of your thinking. And every session, I'm just coming back to that, because what you should be finding is that some of your answers to these things are tweaking as you go. Some of them might be challenged completely, and you might be thinking, actually, no, we've got to change that. But your thinking should be changing as we're going through this program. So do keep going back to that, thinking about it and making any changes that are relevant. So that, I think, is all that I wanted to say. Louise, anything you'd like to add?
Couple of things. Just on the 90-day planning day on the 24th, I've already got one taker, and Katie, and I hope you don't mind me sort of picking you out there, but Katie's going to come along. She's going to bring her team with her. Okay, and so it's an invitation for you if you want to come along on your own, and you'll be working, you know, on your business plan. We'll on your 90-day planner. We will take you through that step by step, or you can, you know, bring your team, because we will put you in a nice separate room on your own, and it's that time to do it. The time frame is 9 until 2, because this is about quarterly planning, and it's about taking you out of the business and getting you to work on that plan. It's very, very valuable. So I say it's something we do with a lot of our clients on a regular basis, but it's because it fits so perfectly with sort of having this first thought about the plan, and taking back to what I said right at the beginning is you won't necessarily get it right first time. Maybe that second iteration on the 24th of September will give you that real clear clarity and focus that you need within your 90-day plan. One other quick thing about how can you help us. We are, and it's within the Worcestershire area, but I think it's worth mentioning, is that we've got a high growth startup program launching in October. So if you know of any businesses who've been trading for less than 2 years, who could do with, again, working in the similar way to the way we're working here in the Worcestershire area, that would be great if you could let us know. It's a program that will run over 6 months. So it's really proper startup support rather than the sort of wishy-washy stuff that is often out there. So just those two things.
Thank you, Louise. Mel, anything final from you?
No, just to say thank you for everyone's contribution today. Really good to see you.
Brilliant. Liz, anything from you?
So just thanks again for everyone's candor. It's been really interesting as always. So thank you. Yeah, really fascinating stuff. It's good to see the progress.
Excellent. So well done, everyone. Please do make sure that you've captured your takeaways, and in our group we've captured them in the chat, and I'll circulate those. But please do make sure you've got your takeaways and that you think about implementing those within your business. And of course, that's where the real difference is going to come, if you actually do take things away and try and implement them in your business. So well done, everyone. Look forward to seeing you either on the. Oh, sorry, John. Yes, you got something to say? No, just saying goodbye. Good. Yeah, well done, everyone. Have a great few weeks. Either see you on the 24th or definitely on the 29th for the next session. And we'll see you in the one-to-ones in between.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, thank you.